Okay, so in this episode of Gav Details, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. If anybody is returning to the channel looking for a detailing video today, that's not what we're doing. If anybody's coming to the channel for the first time, plenty of videos regarding detailing products, reviews, and stuff like that. Today we're going to be discussing my 98 Z28, which I've owned since 2002. Purchased the car, it was stock, it had a K&N air filter and a Flowmaster muffler, and over many years of ownership, the car's gotten many bolt-on performance parts. You know, typical bolt-on LS1 car if you're familiar with the platform. Cam, full exhaust headers back. It has some minor suspension upgrades, shocks and springs, sway bars, and adjustable panhard bar and torque arm and items like that. The vehicle from the factory was an automatic. And if anybody out there is someone who enjoys driving a manual transmission car, it's a little bit more fun. The driving experience can be a little bit more enjoyable. I never really took the car to the track, so while I did have an aftermarket Yank torque converter, that was pretty much just to line it up with the cam so that the car didn't stall out or anything. It needed it to run properly, drivability wise. So with that being said, the car's been automatic and fully maintained for the lifetime of the ownership. And I've always thought, what would the car be like with a 6-speed transmission? So of course, it's a pricey decision to make. There's a lot of parts involved. There's a lot of things that go into having the transmission swapped. It's not just taking one out and putting one in. These cars need to have a little bit of tuning and programming. There's the hydraulic aspect of the slave cylinder, and that's pretty much what I'm going to kind of key in on in this video. Is that I made a decision on a shop. They gave me a quote, and I decided to have them do the work. The first time around, the T56 Magnum transmission was ordered, and the shop never got any type of tracking information on it, and I kind of put the kibosh on the transmission. I dropped the car off at the shop. It sat there for a few days. I didn't hear anything. They were going to send me pictures of the process. I hadn't received any pictures, and I was just wondering, what was going on. So I finally, sent an email and called and asked what was going on, and they had no tracking information, and they pretty much couldn't give me any information on where the transmission was that was pre-ordered 2 weeks prior. So I picked up the car and brought it home, and I said, it's probably just a sign not to have anything done. So of course, over the next couple weeks, I continued to think about it. The original shop did contact me apologizing for, the inconvenience and everything, and they did offer a minor discount on the labor, and then to remove any tuning fees to kind of, flash the computer with like an M6 file. So long story short, I went back to that original shop. Once they had the transmission in hand, they had all the other swap parts. So I decided to get it done. It was later in the fall season here in the Midwest. We had some snow early in October. The car's on drag radials, so it's really not a smart idea to drive the car in inclement weather. So with all of that being said, I never asked the shop to rush. I just wanted to be kept informed of when, how the progress was going and when the vehicle would be done. A friend of mine does have an enclosed trailer, so we could have hooked up the trailer to my truck and picked up the car, no matter what the weather was. So the shop performed the T56 Magnum installation, the full transmission swap. One of the items I had mentioned to them that I had read on a forum geared towards the LS-based cars was that you need to reinforce the firewall, because you're cutting a hole in the firewall so that you can connect the clutch master cylinder. And, you know, I said, if there's any reinforcing needed, you know, are you guys able to do that? They assured me yes, they'll make sure, you know, everything is going to be operational. Fast forward to when I picked up the car, there were some quality control issues with the car. One of the items was that the trunk release didn't work inside the car or with the remote. I was concerned about the reverse lockout working properly. The T56 Magnum comes already with the solenoid in the transmission, and it has the connector ready to go. There are American powertrain cells, the module with the pigtail hookup, and, you know, within an hour you have a properly operating reverse lockout. The shop, you know, told me the reverse lights were going to work, you know, the reverse lockout was going to work. It was going to be like a vehicle that came from the factory with a manual transmission. So one of the first things I did when I came home was I pulled the lower panel to see if maybe the switch for the hatch wasn't plugged in. It was plugged in. The fuse was perfectly okay. The next thing that I looked at was to check the firewall. So unfortunately, as soon as I went underneath the hood and shined a light in that general area, this is where the problems start to begin. So there was metal shavings lower than the shock tower. There's a little bit of a perch there. There was a screw. This right here goes from the firewall into the footwell, and you can see that it has like three, let's see if I can focus here. So you can see here 1, 2, 3 pieces of metal. Commit that to memory, because you'll see that in some pictures here. So I saw that it looked like there was a little bit excess metal cut out for the master cylinder for the clutch. So of course I was concerned about flex. I put the GoPro in the engine bay, and I went ahead and went inside the car and just pushed the clutch pedal down with my hand. And I will, at this point in the video, I'll put some pictures and video up now, which kind of show you what I found. So now that you have seen the pictures of the debris that they left and the flex and the firewall, I knew that this was a concern. So I'm not going to go over all of the bullet points with the problems with the installation of the transmission, but I sent the shop an email with pictures and video, 16 bullet points, and I was not nitpicking. There were some rather serious issues. One of the issues is they modified the spring inside of the reverse lockout solenoid in order for me to quote-unquote muscle the transmission shifter into reverse instead of it being an actual lockout. So you can see here I have the lockout solenoid because the spring on the inside is modified. So I will have a specific video coming out just on that, on how to open it up and to inspect for the modified spring, or if you want to modify the spring, which I do not suggest. That video will be up probably next week or in short order here. So long story short is, because the shop did some things that were not in the best interest of the car, I was not going to take it back there to have them fix it, because if they didn't do it right the first time, they weren't going to do it right to fix it, and I didn't want them to do anything, you know, just... It wasn't the right thing to do. So the car wound up going to Blackdog Speed Shop in Lincolnshire to fix what I'm calling as the sins of the previous shop. So first and foremost, the most important thing was for them to repair the firewall. Obviously, that was a huge safety concern, and I was not going to drive the car for any period of time like that and wait for the firewall to completely split. So Blackdog Speed Shop removed the brake booster and disassembled the pedal assembly and all of that, and they went ahead and fabricated a piece of metal and welded it to the firewall and even wrapped it up and over a little bit of a perch area where the brake booster sits. They primed it, they found purple paint and painted it. Obviously, the cars had modifications. I don't expect it to be, a collector's item on Barrett-Jackson auto auction going for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've owned the car 17 years and it's not going anywhere. So with that being said, I will put in some pictures of the inspection on what it found. A rather large, probably 3 to 4 inch oblong hole drilled for the master cylinder install for the clutch, and obviously that was not needed. So I'll put in some pictures now. So now that you can see that the clutch master cylinder and firewall has been repaired, they also fixed and replaced the reverse lockout solenoid, which comes with a new spring, and then wired in a module so that it works properly. The car had a little bit of hanging idle when it was picked up from the previous shop, so they completely retuned the car. It didn't make any more power, but the drivability should be a lot better. The volumetric efficiency tables were quote-unquote all over the place. So the shop that did the swap actually tuned the car about 10 years ago after the cam install. So, the car's been running somewhat efficiently for 10 years. So it's a good thing it's not a daily driver, or I could have possibly done more damage to the car. Who knows? So long story short is the car's fixed. I'm very happy with the customer service, the workmanship, and the overall feel that I got from Blackdog Speed Shop. I will put their information down in the description. If you're in the Midwest, or even if you're not and you're looking for a shop to do maintenance or bolt-on performance items, or like a full-out resto mod build, this is definitely the shop to go to. And speaking of quality control and stuff like that, the issue for the hatch release was located on a wiring diagram within 20 minutes. The previous shop did not reground some wires that were grounded to the automatic transmission to the manual transmission. So just, stuff like that where it's pretty much inexcusable. With that being said, I'm going to put in a video here from the speed shop, Blackdog Speed Shop in Lincolnshire, Illinois, for one of the dyno pulls. And that's it. So I appreciate anybody stopping in and listening to me ramble on for now. It's about almost 15 minutes about my pride and joy. So with that being said, we will have more detailing videos coming up. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And for future detailing videos, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks.